voice, fool your friends, fun and party.
Not bad.
Hello, everyone. Today we're counting down our picks for the little-known facts about Tim Burton's beloved horror comedy. Which Beetlejuice fact surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments.
Hide the deadly black tarantula.
Number 20. Beetlejuice was almost called Scared Sheetless. It's hard to imagine a classic movie like Beetlejuice with a different name, but that was almost the case. In fact, when the film was still in development, Warner Bros. Executives were concerned that the title Beetlejuice wouldn't connect with mainstream audiences. Tim Burton, in a sarcastic mood, jokingly suggested the title Scared Sheetless, a pun on ghostly bedsheets and the phrase scared shitless. To his surprise and horror, the executives actually considered using this name, thinking it would make the film more marketable.
We come for your daughter, Chuck.
Luckily for everyone involved, they eventually decided to stick with the original name. The title Beetlejuice became just as iconic as the character himself, perfectly capturing the film's mix of supernatural quirkiness and irreverent humor.
Guaranteed to put some life
Attention, keyword shoppers.
in your afterlife.
Number 19. Michael Keaton's limited screen time.
Joining us, Beetlejuice is in theaters and IMAX September 6th.
Even though Michael Keaton's performance as the eccentric bio-exorcist Beetlejuice is one of the highlights of the movie, you might be surprised to learn that he's only in the film for a total of 17 minutes. Considering the lasting cultural impact of the character, this is a shockingly short amount of time.
Connection.
And I'll tell you something, she definitely saw me that last time. I felt a little tingle.
Keaton's brief yet explosive performance turned those few minutes into something legendary. In those 17 minutes, he manages to dominate the movie, leaving audiences with the impression that he's in the entire film. His energy, improvisation, and larger-than-life personality ensure that every second he's on screen is unforgettable. Keaton has spoken in interviews about how Tim Burton gave him a lot of creative freedom, allowing him to come up with much of Beetlejuice's dialogue and antics on the spot. It's a testament to Keaton's talent that he made such a lasting impression in so little time.
You sure you're okay?
Yep.
Because
Number 18. A much darker original script. Beetlejuice as we know it is a dark comedy with an eccentric tone, but the original script was far more sinister. Written by Michael McDowell, an early draft of the script was more of a straight horror film. In this version, Beetlejuice was envisioned as a grotesque, shape-shifting demon who took pleasure in terrorizing the Dietz family and even attempted to murder Lydia. The Maitlands' death was also much more violent, involving a graphic car crash. The tone was heavy, and there was little of the humor that fans associate with the final version. Fortunately, when Tim Burton came on board, he and screenwriters Warren Scarron and Larry Wilson transformed the story into a black comedy. Burton's vision shifted the film toward the whimsical and surreal, balancing the morbid elements with the lighthearted. The changes helped the movie appeal to a wider audience while keeping its eerie charm intact. This darker original script shows just how much Beetlejuice evolved from concept to completion. Number 17. Winona Ryder almost didn't play Lydia.
Jumped, having vomited.
Winona Ryder's portrayal of Lydia Dietz, the gloomy teenager with a love for the macabre, has become one of her defining roles. However, the role almost went to someone else. Several well-known actresses from the 1980s were considered for the part, including Lori Loughlin and Jennifer Connelly, who had starred in Labyrinth just 2 years earlier.
Beetlejuice! Beetlejuice!
Director Tim Burton was looking for someone who could capture Lydia's melancholic yet quirky essence, and while other actresses were certainly talented, they didn't quite fit Burton's vision. When Winona Ryder auditioned, Burton saw that her unique blend of offbeat charm and vulnerability was exactly what the role required. Lydia's sarcastic, deadpan humor and her sense of isolation resonated with teenage audiences, especially those who felt like outsiders. Ryder's natural chemistry with the rest of the cast, particularly Katherine OHara and Jeffrey Jones as her eccentric parents, solidified her as the perfect choice. Without her, Lydia's role in the movie might not have had the same iconic impact on pop culture.
Utterly alone. By the time.
Number 16. The movie's budget was shockingly low. Given the elaborate sets, makeup, and special effects that make Beetlejuice so visually distinctive, it's surprising to learn that the film was made on a modest budget of just $15 million. While that might sound like a lot of money, even for the 1980s, it was relatively low for a film of this scale, especially considering the special effects-heavy nature of the movie. Tim Burton had to be incredibly resourceful to create the film's iconic visuals. One of the most notable budget-saving decisions was to rely on practical effects, including stop-motion animation and puppetry rather than expensive CGI. Burton's love for old-school effects shines through in scenes like the sandworm attack and the surreal, bureaucratic afterlife office. These practical effects give the movie its handmade, quirky charm and set it apart from more polished, effects-driven films of the time. The combination of budget constraints and creative filmmaking helped Beetlejuice achieve its unique aesthetic.
Come on. Beetlejuice.
Number 15. Beetlejuice's look was created in just 2 weeks.
Babs.
When Michael Keaton agreed to play the character, Tim Burton gave him a lot of freedom in developing Beetlejuice's look and personality. Keaton quickly immersed himself in the role, working with the film's makeup and costume departments to create the character's distinctive appearance. In just 2 weeks, they came up with Beetlejuice's chaotic, decaying look, complete with wild green hair, pale skin, and moldy patches. Keaton also came up with the idea of having Beetlejuice's teeth look rotten and uneven, which added to the character's unsettling yet comical appearance. In interviews, Keaton has described Beetlejuice as a combination of various influences, including rock stars, carnival barkers, and vaudeville performers.
Ow! Oh, hey, come on! You gotta work with me here. I'm just trying to cut a deal. What do you want me to do? Where are you?
He saw the character as someone who exists in his own twisted reality, constantly breaking the fourth wall and playing by his own rules. The result was a performance that balanced humor with a sense of unpredictability, making Beetlejuice both frightening and hilarious. Keaton's creativity in shaping the character's look and personality was key to bringing Burton's vision to life.
Well, time I see it! Not to mention the fact that you're talking to a dead guy! Now what do you think? You think I'm qualified?
Number 14. Beetlejuice was originally supposed to be more grotesque.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe. You know, you look like somebody.
Tim Burton's original concept for the character of Beetlejuice was far darker and more grotesque than the version we see in the film. Early sketches and designs for the character showed him as a demonic figure with reptilian skin, sharp teeth, and bat-like wings. This version of Beetlejuice was meant to be more of a horror villain than a comedic trickster. He was designed to be genuinely terrifying, reflecting the film's initial, darker tone.
That's the lost souls room. A room for ghosts that have been exorcised.
As the script evolved and the film's tone shifted towards comedy, Burton decided to soften Beetlejuice's appearance, making him more playful and mischievous. Instead of a grotesque monster, Beetlejuice became a chaotic, almost clown-like figure who still had a spooky edge but was more of an anti-hero than a villain.
Come on, let's go. Get on the ceremony. Do you, Beetle? Nobody says the B.
This change helped the character become more accessible to audiences, especially given the film's PG rating, and allowed Michael Keaton to inject more humor and charisma into the role. Number 13. The Maitlands' death. Was different in the original script. In the final version of Beetlejuice, the Maitlands, played by Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin, die in a car accident after their vehicle swerves off a bridge and into a river. However, in the original draft of the script, their death was much darker. The Maitlands were originally supposed to die in a house fire, which would have set a more somber tone for the film. The change to a car accident made their death less traumatic and aligned with the film's lighter, more whimsical approach to the afterlife. The decision to alter the Maitlands' death also allowed for more visual creativity. The underwater scenes, where the Maitlands' ghostly forms are discovered floating in their car, provided a haunting yet beautiful image that fit with Burton's signature visual style. The car accident was a less gruesome way to handle their demise, while still serving as a pivotal moment in the story.
Oh, it's about time.
Number 12. Tim Burton's banana boat scene was almost cut.
Work all night and a drink of rum.
One of the most memorable and beloved scenes in Beetlejuice is the dinner party possession, where the Didnt family and their guests are compelled to dance to Harry Belafonte's Day-O, the banana boat song. This scene perfectly encapsulates the film's mix of spooky and comedic elements, and it remains one of the most iconic moments in movie history. However, the studio wasn't initially sold on the idea. Warner Brothers executives thought the scene was too silly and out of place in a movie that was supposed to be more of a horror comedy. They feared it would disrupt the tone and wanted Burton to cut it. But Burton believed in the scene's potential to showcase the film's playful side and stood his ground. His instinct was spot on. The scene became a fan favorite and solidified Beetlejuice as a film that blends the absurd with the macabre.
A beautiful bunch, a ripe banana.
Number 11. There's a reference to The Exorcist.
During that, I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it.
Throughout Beetlejuice, there are several clever nods to pop culture, one of which is the character's famous line, "I've seen The Exorcist about 167 times, and it keeps getting funnier every single time I see it." This line is both a humorous reflection of Beetlejuice's twisted sense of humor and a subtle homage to one of the greatest horror films of all time. The Exorcist was a huge cultural phenomenon in the 1970s, known for its terrifying depiction of a young girl possessed by a demon. By referencing this movie, Beetlejuice not only pays tribute to its horror roots, but also establishes itself as part of a larger conversation about the supernatural in cinema.
Sure, go ahead, shoot.
Well, for instance, what are your qualifications?
The fact that Beetlejuice finds the film funny rather than scary adds to his character's dark, irreverent personality, making the line all the more memorable. Number 10. Beetlejuice's name has multiple spellings.
You want a cigarette?
Oh, no, thank you.
Trying to cut down myself.
One of the quirky aspects of Beetlejuice is the different ways the character's name is spelled throughout the film and its promotional material. In the title of the movie and most of the marketing, it's spelled as Beetlejuice, which plays into the quirky and comical tone of the film. However, in the movie itself, his name is spelled Beetlejuice, referencing the bright red star in the Orion constellation. The choice to name the character after a star adds an element of mystery and intrigue, linking Beetlejuice to the cosmic and the supernatural. While fans continue to debate which spelling is correct, both versions have become synonymous with the character's mischievous and larger-than-life persona. The dual spelling only adds to the film's oddball charm and reflects Tim Burton's signature blend of the bizarre and the whimsical.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
And you, do you, Lydia, take this man to be...
Number 9. Alec Baldwin hated his performance. Though Alec Baldwin's performance as Adam Maitland is now beloved, the actor himself wasn't pleased with how he came across in the film. Baldwin has said in interviews that he didn't fully understand the script or the tone of the movie while they were shooting it. He even went as far as saying that he felt his performance was stiff, and one of his worst in his career.
But look, there are no mirrors on this side.
Fine, look fine.
Yeah?
Fine.
Thanks, I've been feeling a little flat.
Despite Baldwin's self-criticism, his portrayal of Adam as a sweet, well-meaning but slightly clueless ghost became one of the movie's most endearing aspects. His chemistry with Gina Davis, who played his wife Barbara, added a warmth to the movie that balanced the more chaotic energy of Beetlejuice. Baldwin's humility about his role shows that even the actors involved couldn't have predicted the massive cultural impact the film would eventually have. Number 8. The Handbook for the Recently Deceased was a prop masterpiece.
Handbook for the Recently Deceased.
The Handbook for the Recently Deceased is an iconic prop that plays a significant role in the film's plot, guiding the Maitlands through their new life as ghosts. The book's dry, bureaucratic tone and outdated design were a stroke of genius by the film's prop department. Its appearance, worn and unassuming, feels like a relic from a mundane, bureaucratic afterlife, which adds to the absurdity of the film's take on the world beyond death.
Instructions. Listen to this. Geographical and temporal perimeters. Functional perimeters vary from manifestation to manifestation.
Tim Burton was heavily involved in the creation of the handbook. He wanted it to look like something you'd find in a dull government office, despite it being a guide for the deceased. The deadpan humor of the title alone hints at the surreal comedy throughout the film. The book became such an iconic part of Beetlejuice's legacy that it's since been replicated as a collectible item for fans. Number 7. The stop-motion snake was almost cut. One of the more frightening moments in Beetlejuice occurs when Beetlejuice transforms into a snake, terrorizing the Dietz family as they explore the attic. The snake, brought to life through stop-motion animation, stands out as one of the most visually arresting scenes in the film. However, the snake almost didn't make it into the final cut due to budget concerns. The stop-motion effects in Beetlejuice were labor-intensive and costly. At one point, the studio suggested cutting the scene to save money. Fortunately, Tim Burton fought to keep it in the movie, recognizing its importance in balancing the film's comedic and frightening elements. The snake scene is one of the best examples of how Burton uses practical effects to bring his darkly imaginative world to life. Number 6. Tim Burton wanted Sammy Davis Jr. as Beetlejuice.
The reaction when I said that I wanted Sammy Davis Jr. to play Beetlejuice.
Before Michael Keaton was cast as the unforgettable Beetlejuice, Tim Burton had another unconventional choice in mind: legendary entertainer Sammy Davis Jr. Burton was a fan of Davis and thought his charisma and energy would make for an interesting take on the character. However, the studio executives weren't convinced that Davis was the right fit for the role and ultimately pushed for someone else. Michael Keaton, who was known primarily for his comedic roles at the time, was eventually cast, and he transformed Beetlejuice into a chaotic, eccentric, and iconic figure. While it's fascinating to imagine what Sammy Davis Jr. might have brought to the role, Keaton's wild, unpredictable performance became the defining aspect of the character and the movie. Number 5. Winona Ryder's goth look was inspired by punk culture.
Well, I read through that handbook for the recently deceased. It says, live people ignore the...
Lydia Dietz's iconic goth look was one of the film's standout features, thanks to the collaboration between costume designer Aggie Garrard-Rogers and makeup artist V. Neal. Her heavy black eyeliner, pale complexion, and dark, tattered clothing were inspired by 1980s punk culture, which was known for its rebellious and anti-mainstream aesthetic.
Mr. and Mrs. Maitland?
Lydia's gothic appearance wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a key part of her character. Her style reflects her sense of alienation from the world and her fascination with the macabre. In fact, her line, "I myself am strange and unusual," became an anthem for fans who related to her outsider status. Lydia's look helped define a new type of weird girl archetype in cinema, influencing goth and alternative subcultures for years to come. Number 4. the movie almost had a sequel set in Hawaii.
Adam?
This way, honey.
Following the success of Beetlejuice, Tim Burton and Warner Brothers briefly considered a sequel titled Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. The bizarre plot would have involved the Dietz family moving to Hawaii, only to discover that their new beachfront property was built on ancient burial grounds. Beetlejuice would have followed them, blending Hawaiian culture with the movie's trademark supernatural hijinks. While Burton and Keaton were initially interested, the project never got off the ground. The idea of Beetlejuice in Hawaii was certainly unique, but it's possible that the outlandish premise wouldn't have captured the same magic as the original. Over the years, rumors of a Beetlejuice sequel have surfaced multiple times, but as of now, Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian remains one of the stranger what-ifs in movie history. Number 3. Catherine O'Hara and Tim Burton fell in love with stop-motion animation. While Beetlejuice didn't feature as much stop-motion animation as Burton's later films, the process played a crucial role in creating the film's signature visuals, particularly with creatures like the sandworms and Beetlejuice's snake transformation. The success of these stop-motion effects had a lasting impact on both Tim Burton and Catherine O'Hara, who played Delia Dietz. Burton would go on to direct stop-motion classics like The Nightmare Before Christmas and Corpse Bride, solidifying his status as a master of the medium. Meanwhile, Catherine O'Hara would voice key characters like Sally and Shock in The Nightmare Before Christmas, becoming a frequent collaborator with Burton in his animated projects. Their shared love for the quirky, handcrafted charm of stop motion helped shape the trajectory of their careers. Number 2, Gina Davis was the first actor cast. Before Michael Keaton, Winona Ryder, or Alec Baldwin were brought on board, Gina Davis was the first actor to sign on to Beetlejuice. At the time, Davis was riding high on the success of The Fly, and Burton was eager to work with her. Her enthusiasm for the role of Barbara Maitland was crucial in securing the film's momentum in the early stages of production. Davis's portrayal of Barbara brought a warmth and sweetness to the character that contrasted with the chaos surrounding her. Her performance, alongside Alec Baldwin's Adam, provided the emotional heart of the film, giving audiences characters to root for amid the wackiness of the afterlife. Number 1. The Afterlife Waiting Room was inspired by real-life bureaucracy. One of the funniest and most memorable scenes in Beetlejuice is the waiting room in the afterlife, where deceased souls wait for their appointments with the caseworker Juno. The exaggerated, bureaucratic setting, complete with endless paperwork and outdated decor, was inspired by Tim Burton's experiences with government offices. The scene plays with the idea that even in death, there's no escape from mundane, bureaucratic red tape. This concept of an inefficient and bureaucratic afterlife is one of the film's most clever satirical elements. It contrasts the fantastical idea of the afterlife with the all-too-familiar frustrations of waiting in line and filling out forms. The waiting room also features some of the film's most creative visual gags, such as the flattened man who was run over by a car and the magician's assistant sawed in half. If you enjoyed these facts, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating deep dives into your favorite movies. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.